Welcome, everybody. This is normally the time of the month where we have a customer training webinar, and this time we're expanding it out a little bit. We expanded the audience, we expanded the reach because we wanted to have Jeremy on our team, our product dude, talk about our latest product, AutoBio. Hey, Jeremy, how are you doing?
Doing great, Matthew. I think Product Dude is officially the best title I've ever had. So
Well,
I'm
good.
gonna have to petition to make a change.
So yes, we have established you're not wearing the cowboy hat that you bought at NADA in Dallas, but that's okay. But you got me, Matthew, Chief Marketing Officer here at the Trade Pending TV studios. Jeremy is in Charleston, South Carolina. Thank you for joining us today. And as we always do, we are recording this. We will share it out afterwards. If you have questions as we go through this, use the Q&A thing in the Zoom webinar panel, hit up the chat. We'll get to them. And if we aren't able to get to them, then we will reach out to you afterwards there. If you haven't seen any of the previous Trade Pending TV content, we're publishing out just a wealth of resources, mostly around just best practices around sales and marketing, our thoughts on the space. Check it out. You can follow us there. And you probably want to do that also because we are going to be giving away these limited edition Trade Pending Miami Vice inspired style t-shirts the first full week of June. This drops on social media, so if you want one, they are first come, first serve. You've got to be following us there to grab one. I've tried it on. It's very nice. My 15-year-old actually wore one to school today. So I think we've hit a nerve here with the vein of cultural wonderfulness. All right. So we do want to take a couple moments here for a few quick product updates from our side. One of them is that from a prodding from one of our website vendor partners, they had said like, hey, overall, we're just trying to look to reduce the footprint of scripts on the site. And we use that as a catalyst to take the trade pending script that really powers everything on your site and shrink that down by a huge amount. It's important because it just means, well, there's many pieces that make a website run fast. How many scripts are loading on there is one. And so we have shrunk ours down to normalcy. That's a nice testament there to the work of the development team there. We are also supporting the ASC format for Google Analytics 4. That deadline's coming up in July for the switch to GA4. We send events in both the ASC format as well as our own because we realize that not every dealer is going to be adopting that format. If you need help with that, we got lots of documentation on that. Our support team can help. Your customer success manager can help with that also. Something that's also been a nice benefit is as we've added these new products and we've acquired some, and you'll get a glimpse of this today a little bit. We're now making it so you can have a consolidated view of a customer in the Trade Pending app. Obviously, you can see that in your CRM as well today too. But you can also send out multiple touch points to a consumer from one spot. So if you need to send somebody the trade-in report, their payment certificate, an AutoBio report, you've got one spot to do that now. It's really clean. A couple other quick nuggets here. We frequently get asked like, hey, why is there a lead discrepancy between what Trade Pending is showing me and what's in our CRM? The short answer, we treat them all differently. Google Analytics treats that stuff differently. There's a link to a video there which explains that, just walks you through the process. It's pretty easy to understand once you get it. And then Alex on our team here has created this nice walkthrough. If you want to create a standing banner in your dealership, you know, the 6-foot tall jams that say, hey, we'll buy your car if you don't buy ours, and here's a big QR code. He walks you through that process of doing that there. And the last little teaser here from my side, one of the most favorite features of our trade product is the hot leads, where you are alerted when what seems like a dead deal is coming back to life. They're coming back to the site and they're checking out more products, whether that was 3 days ago, 3 months ago. That feature is coming to payments. So not out yet, but coming really soon. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy. Jeremy, I'll stop sharing. I'll let you take it over from here on the deck if that's all right.
Sounds great.
And your hair looks great today, despite the fact that you said you drove in with the top down. So
yeah, not the best execution this morning, so we had to regroup. But Fortunately, we've got a great hair and makeup department here at TradePending. All right, there we go.
Yeah, throw that thing in slideshow for us.
There we go. Almost like I've done this before. All right, let's talk about problems. We've got them. So one of the really funny things about being in product is I get to spend about as much time thinking about dealers' problems as dealers do. So, the bulk of my day is actually spent talking to dealers about what they're doing, what's going on, and trying to keep my finger on the pulse of the market. Right,
Jeremy, you were a dealer once yourself too.
I was. Don't hold that against me, but I'm just teasing. Yeah, I ran a Subaru store in Massachusetts. My family has been in the car business for 100 years, long automotive history. So, I think that it's exciting for me to do what I do, and that I've been in a lot of your seats before, and I can sympathize, or at least empathize with a lot of your pain. So let's talk about what problems we've been hearing a lot about, and what this whole AutoBio thing set out to solve for you. So one of the things that I think everybody on this call would agree with, or at least should agree with, is that selling is hard again. Who would have thought? So, coming out of this post-COVID world, things are starting to normalize, right? And as dealers, we're no longer just, taking orders and, having these really, really simple deals come to us with all this gross, right? We've got to get down in the trenches a little bit. We've got to strategize. We've got to think about how we're merchandising our inventory again. We've got to think about how our salespeople are presenting that inventory again, how we're pricing it in inventory, right? We're starting to get back to this world where we have to get our selling hats on, and that transition is not always the easiest thing in the world. So we wanted to make something to be able to support that, and then to kind of supplement that. In automotive, even the best dealerships, we tend to have a lot of turnover, right? So we naturally have a lot of new salespeople, and a lot of our salespeople that have been at a dealership maybe less than, say, 3 years have probably never really even seen the quote unquote like real selling environment. So that really got us kind of interested in trying to solve that problem. And as we continued to talk to dealers, we started to notice some additional themes, where we noticed that the customer is really hungry for research, right? They want to know why. They're doing so much research all over the internet to learn two things: what and why, right? The what about a car in terms of, does this car meet my needs, and the why is this car right for me? So hint, we're going to talk a lot about those two things today. But a byproduct of that kind of being hungry for research, voracious appetite for information, is that oftentimes, especially with off-brand vehicles, we run into some scenarios that are a little uncomfortable for us, where the customer might actually know more about a particular vehicle than one of our salespeople does, right? And that kind of creates a little bit of an erosion of faith and trust in that conversation. Right. So one of the things that we want to do is not only maintain that trust and position your salespeople to be experts, and to be in a position of as an authority on a given vehicle, but we want to be able to not only provide that information to accomplish those research goals, but then take those researchers and turn them into leads. So we're going to talk about that as well today. And then, as we started talking about the customer journey and what an actual process of a customer from online to in the store looks like, reminded me of something that happened to me in the dealership all the time, right? We maybe have a conversation with a customer that we didn't make the deal that day, and that conversation typically has one or two word tracks. It's like every person that's bought a car was programmed to say one of these two things: either send me some information on that vehicle, or just give me a card, I'll be in touch, right? And those 2 points in the conversation can be a little bit awkward for us as dealers. And in reality, they're opportunities for us to move the sale further along, which we'll talk about a lot today. But let's just say we get somebody that we had worked with. They do leave the store. and maybe it wasn't the right time, right? One of the things that we will talk about today as well is that kind of that equation of what makes a car deal, right? It's the right car, the right value, and the right time. And sometimes it just isn't the right time for folks. And it's hard for us as dealers when that person's not in the showroom to really understand when that right time is. So we're going to talk about how we can help you identify that right time today. I think that's all. I think we got some problems out of the way. So let's get live. See this thing.
All right, let's do it, Jeremy.
Let's do it. All right. So let's talk about what the heck an AutoBio is, first of all. Best place to start there is our AutoBio dashboard. So AutoBio dashboard, most likely starting place for you is going to be in this inventory tab, right? So it's going to have all of your inventory here. We could pick a specific vehicle. Let's pick this Honda Accord, right? So we're going to see a little bit of a profile screen here for this Accord where we see who we've sent an AutoBio to. And then we can actually look at an AutoBio. So AutoBio is really, really cool. Think of an AutoBio as this shareable package of information that we can send to a customer. It's going to do two things. It's going to be that key information that they're looking at when they're doing their research, right? All those boxes that they're checking, we can check them with this. But it's not only going to be this source of information, but it's also going to be a resource for us to create a lot of value and build urgency, right? So big differentiator, we'll talk about this later, versus anything like this that you've actually seen before. We're not just sending information, we're sending the why, right? We're combining the what, the facts about the car with the why this car is special. So let's look at that information. So first thing we see is a carousel of photos for that particular vehicle. The old adage is that photos sell vehicles, so let's get them in there. Next, we're going to include what we call our badges data, right? So this stuff is going to be your tidbits of urgency and value and the why. So you can look at this through two lenses, one from your salesperson's perspective and one from the consumer, right? Basically, we're explaining to that consumer why this car is special, right? We're going to tell them why it's unique and why they need to act urgently, and don't worry about the price of that car, right? So for example, this particular vehicle, we are priced better than, we're the best price within 200 miles. This car sells really, really quickly. It's a really popular color and has really low miles compared to the other cars in the market, right? So now if I'm the consumer, automatically, I know that I need to act quickly on this car and that the work has been done for me. This car is a good deal, right? And then if you're a salesperson using this, you use these as closing tools and as negotiation tools, right? These are the kind of things that you want to bring up when you're being asked for a price concession or when somebody wants to come back later or, maybe isn't ready to close right then and there. Additionally, we're going to provide a breakdown of what awards the vehicles won, right, as a value builder there. And then some of those really key items that customers look into when they're deciding on making sure that a make and a model is the right car, fuel economy and safety, as well as Carfax history for that given vehicle. And then we also include the window sticker for that car, build data, right? So kind of a couple of use cases here, right? One being that, especially on a used vehicle, we're building a tremendous amount of value, right? Like, look how much you're saving compared to what that car originally sold for, more in a normal market. Now, one question that we get asked frequently is, do we have the ability to turn off MSRP? We do. So if your strategy in your store is to sell used cars a little closer to where the MSRP is, no problem. We're covering you there. But the real benefit is that your salespeople can now kind of become instant product experts, right? When a customer asks, hey, does the car have this feature? We don't have to go out and look at the car or guess or try to look on the website, right? We've got a nice breakdown of everything that car has, and we can review this maybe even before that customer comes into the showroom and be positioned as the authority on this vehicle. Additionally, we can include recon information for that car, right? Building a tremendous amount of value there. And then we actually attempt to humanize the process and connect that consumer not only to the vehicle, but to the salesperson, right? So we give them the salesperson the ability to mention a little, fun bio kind of esque section here, and let them, find some common ground and build some rapport with that customer, right?
I'm chuckling at your favorites, Jeremy. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody that knows me knows that these are very, very accurate. But the idea here is people buy from people. So let's make your salespeople people. It's a lot of use of people. But we've now sent this information to the customer, right? They've got all this stuff that they can look at. Well, guess what? We now want to take them and be able to move them further down the funnel, right? So this is when we talked about turn researchers into leads. Now we can take that customer to the next step. And we can push them into being able to value their trade, possibly calculating a payment, getting pre-qualified on a vehicle, or scheduling a test drive, right? So there's a whole bunch that we can do to now encourage that customer to go farther and farther, right? So again, key differentiator here, we're not just a dump of information, right? We're the what and the why that helps move you into being a lead or somewhere further down the funnel. Okay. So we talked about what an AutoBio is. And one question that we get asked all the time is, do we have to share them from here, or can we share them from our CRM? You absolutely can share them from your CRM. So wanted to make sure that anybody who had that as a burning question, we're good to go there. Now, we can look at this a different way. Previously, we were looking at this as, how do we get some information to a customer? Now let's get some information about a customer. So let's pick my favorite fake customer here, Ferdinand McManerberry. And we pull him up here. Now we have all this insight as to what Ferdinand has done, right? So now, not only have we provided, Ferdinand with a lot of information, but now we, in return, can start to understand what makes Ferdinand tick and how to best work this deal, right? So we'll be able to view any trade vehicles Ferdinand has entered in here, as well as any AutoBios we've sent him and whether or not he's viewed them, any vehicles that he's calculated payments on. Then we're actually tracking him on our VDP page as well, right? So we're looking at the total number of visits he's made, the average price of vehicles he's looked at, average mileage, what colors and types of vehicles, then even what cars, when he visited them, and how many times, right? So this becomes a tremendously valuable resource for us as dealers to understand that one of those pieces of that equation of the right car, right? By sending them the information on the vehicle, we address that right value. Now we're talking about right car and sort of right time as well, right? We know that if Ferdinand here has visited this car 17 times in the last couple of days, it might be the right time for Ferdinand. Additionally, we want to get those buying signals in the hands of your sales team and your managers as quickly as we can. So we're actually able to configure notifications via text or email whenever a given customer opens up and interacts with an AutoBio, right? So really gives us some power to be able to strike when the opportunity is presenting itself to us. So last piece we want to touch on here in the back end is the ability to measure how well we're doing, right? In terms of how much activity we have as a whole, how we're performing as individual salespeople, as well as what content and what information are our customers actually paying attention to, right? So we're going to be able to give you insight as to views and share metrics in terms of how many you've sent into how many people, how your customers are digesting that information in terms of what devices they're doing it on, what content they're engaging with, who our sales reps are that are doing a really great job with this and being very proactive in sending these out, how we're doing on a daily basis. And we'll even get some insight as to which pieces of inventory are actually getting the most traction in terms of AutoBio shares and views. And then additionally, we can kind of look at the VDP experience for the customer and on a global sort of universal level here, where we can break down what colors, years, mileages, brands, and price ranges our customers are most looking at on our site. So a whole lot of information that we can use here internally, right? Becomes a very, very powerful tool for really any internal area of your dealership, from salespeople to be able to do their job more effectively and sort of bridge that gap, BDC to engage more effectively, and for managers to be able to work deals a little bit more strategically. And then as sort of an added bonus, wanted to share this, there is a presence on your website, right? There is a very good chance that, you know, somebody maybe before they have talked to you or anybody at the dealership starts on your website, believe it or not. So what we do here is we want to encourage a customer to land on the AutoBio information, but instead of just putting a call to action up that just has some generic like view information about this vehicle, like all of our websites have, we want to lead with some of that really motivating information that we pull from that badges data, right? If I could say, hey, this car is a really great deal, or it's really rare, it's probably encouraging that customer to interact with it, right? So if I'm on an SRP, we don't want to take up too much real estate, but we want to give that customer something juicy that they're interested in, so they can click right in here and then access the AutoBio for that vehicle. Or if we were on a VDP, got a call to action here that explains to that customer, hey, all those things that are really important to you during your research process, find them all right here, right? So, you know, we're turning this into something that allows you and your website and your salespeople to be the resource for all the information the customer could possibly need, right? Keeping them engaged in your ecosystem and not forcing them or requiring them to go all over the internet to do their research and you know, risk losing them to a competitor or getting some data that isn't favorable to us that could negatively impact our growth or something like that. So back into slideshow. Let's talk about differentiators, right?
Yeah, so bring it home for us, Jeremy.
Bringing it home. So we're telling the what and the why, right? Both of those things are important. Let's allow our website and our salespeople to be the experts on providing that information and be that resource, but then also be the why, right? Explain to a customer why they need to act quickly, why they should buy that car, and give your salespeople the tools to be able to do that as well. We're going to be able to turn researchers into leads, right? Let's not just kick tires. Let's kick tires and come into the store and sign on a car, right? Let's get them in the darn showroom. And most importantly, we still don't compete with you for customers, right? We're not trying to take people off of your website, bring them elsewhere, right? The whole goal of this product is to keep them engaged with you, keep your customers yours, right? Keep them in your backyard, in your showroom, and be really, really excited that you signed up for us for that reason.
You know,
So
Jeremy, there's the phrase "never say never."
Never say never.
There's a really high likelihood that we are never going to be advertising and marketing to consumers. That's just not our business model.
Good point.
That's one of the big differentiators of TradePending. And I really like bullet number 2 there, because turning those researchers into leads, that's just a really strong point in our favor that people can jump right into valuing their trade and calculating their monthly payment. So it's just a really nicely stitched together.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I've very rarely in my car buying process done a bunch of research and said, yeah, that's the car for me. I guess I'll do something else now. It's always the next step, right? It's how do I get that car and make it mine? So,
well, Jeremy, why don't you just keep rolling through these slides here? I think we've got kind of one more official slide, and this is it.
oh,
the official slide.
Look at that one.
If you've made it this far, we will happily send you one of the TradePending mascots if you'd like one. There's one up here on the shelf. It's a drinking bird. You know, you dunk its head in water, it'll keep drinking. Hit us up with that little bit.ly URL there, and we will mail you one, and you can have your own and impress all of your friends. And I think with that, if you just move over to the next slide, it's officially into Q&A time. There we go. So that's our contact information there. So we did have a question that came in, Jeremy, while you were the demo there, and that was, where does TradePending get all of that market data from for like the things like Popular Engine and that kind of thing?
Great question. And the answer is not ChatGPT. Yeah, what we do. So the easiest way to explain it is we index all that data ourselves, right? So we are scraping every franchise dealer's website in the US and Canada every day, right? And we're compiling all that data, and gives us a really, really good snapshot of what the market is, right? So then we look at your data, or your vehicles, and we make some comparisons, right? So for example, if you've got a white Toyota Camry 2020 with 30,000 miles, I just draw a big circle around your dealership and I look at all the other 2020 white Toyota Camry SEs in that market, and then just apply some logic like, oh, wow, there's only 2 of them available. Or, wow, this one has the lowest miles, or we're priced better than 80% of those vehicles, or wow, this is the only SE, or it's the only all-wheel drive, right? It's really, really powerful in that regard, because we're not only keeping that data local and relevant, but it gives us the ability to only say positive things about your cars as well. So really, really good question.
Next question coming in from Ashley. Thank you for asking. Does this replace badges? I don't see why you would need both. And it's a really good way to think about it. So there's definitely going to be customers who want to just have badges and customers who want AutoBio. And you're right, because that badges data is included with AutoBio, you would just have AutoBio and that would include all of that same data.
Sure. Good question.
All right. So got another one here. Like what is the setup implementation process like?
Really good question. So it depends a little bit on if you're a current badges customer or not. Either way, it's not a tremendous difference in time. So pretty darn simple. Essentially, we send you the enrollment. You send that back to us. We collect a little bit of information, primarily related to your inventory feed. So if you're using one of our products that already has that, massively streamlines the process. And then once your inventory feed processes usually just takes a few days, we're actually able to get up and running and live. And then typically with this, because it's a process driven tool and something that you're really going to be using internally, we make a pretty big effort here to make sure that we're getting buy-in from management and from sales. So typically what we do is we do 2 calls. We do a kickoff call with your management team and get them trained and up to speed on everything. And then we'll do a kickoff call with your sales team as well and get them up and running and going there. And then if there's any additional training or anything in the immediate launch phase that we need to do, we will absolutely handle that and accommodate that. And then our CSM team, our customer success managers, they're constantly monitoring your activity levels and your success with the product, and we'll really hold your hand through not only the launch phase but ongoing to make sure you're getting the most out of everything. So pretty long answer, but not a long implementation process.
Wonderful. Well, we don't have any more questions coming in. If you have questions you want to email myself or Jeremy, please do so. And with that, we're going to wrap up. Thank you, Jeremy, for walking us through that today. Thank you, everyone, for attending and for listening in after the fact. We will see you next time.